Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken and we are here today, guys, for another Martin Scorsese 4K review. We just reviewed Hugo on 4K from Era Video. Now we are here to talk about After Hours on 4K from the Criterion collection. So this one came out this week. I watched it last night, so I'm ready to give my thoughts on the picture quality, the movie itself, the sound, all that good stuff. We're going to get into all special features, packaging, but before we do that, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about physical media on this channel every single day, Blu-rays, 4Ks, owning the movies that you love. So if you like that kind of thing, definitely consider hitting that subscribe button, and then, like this video and comment down below if you plan on picking this up. What's your thoughts on 1985's After Hours, directed by the legendary Martin Scorsese? Is this a movie that you remember growing up with? Did you watch this a lot on DVD, VHS? This is the first time this is being put out not just on 4K, but on Blu-ray as well. This has never even had a Blu-ray. So let me know what you think of this movie if you're going to pick up this Criterion version in that comment section below. I will be leaving a link for purchase down there. It will be an Amazon link. Now, I will say I got this off of Amazon for $25, the 4K of it. I don't know if that sale is still going on Amazon, but you can go to your local Barnes & Noble right now because they are having a 50% off sale on all Criterion titles. So you can get this for 25 bucks, or you can get the regular Blu-ray for $20 if you don't care about getting that 4K upgrade. And it's still Criterion. It'll still have the 4K scan. You'll still have all the special features and all that good stuff. So let's talk about this movie real quick, because watching this, while I don't think that this movie, I really like this movie. I'll say that right off the bat. I don't think this movie would make it into like my top 5, top 10 Martin Scorsese movies. Watching this, I had a little bit of an epiphany, and I've always known that Martin Scorsese was just one of the greatest filmmakers ever in the history of filmmakers. He's just a legend. He's up there with Spielberg. It's like them two, like neck and neck, and Hitchcock. Like you would put all three of them on the Mount Rushmore of directors. But this really solidified for me, like he's just one of the most like versatile filmmakers of all time. Like he's really more than, a lot of people associate Martin Scorsese with like dark, thrilling dramas, period pieces, gangster movies. I think most people associate him with Goodfellas, The Irishman, just like stuff like that, Casino. That's what they associate Martin Scorsese with. He's more than that. Like he can do so much more than that. And I think he really proves that with this kind of smaller, low budget, just it really kind of quirky, dark comedy is what this movie is at the end of the day. And it's so different than anything that Martin Scorsese's done, than anything that I've ever seen from him. But it's also just such a different kind of movie than anything that I've ever seen before, like in my entire life. And to watch a movie like this and know it's a Scorsese film, like all the Scorsese hallmarks are there. Like it's brilliantly directed, cinematography. It looks great. Some of the shots are fantastic. Performances are excellent. It's just a very well-made movie. But it's not like that. It's not like that big, like, dramatic piece. It's not Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, The King of Comedy, which he did The King of Comedy before this, and he actually did this movie because The King of Comedy flopped, and he kind of fell out of Hollywood there for a little bit. People didn't want him to make, like, big budget movies anymore, so he kind of scaled it back and did After Hours, and I just think that's super interesting. He has such a super, like, interesting, I would love to do a deep dive into Martin Scorsese movies, because like I said, I just watched Hugo, and that's such a different movie than anything he's ever been known for before. That's a children's movie, but this is a very adult, dark comedy, but it's very quirky. It's very almost surreal in certain aspects. Like you have this guy who's played by Griffin Dunne, who, to be completely honest, I've only seen Griffin Dunne in American Werewolf in London. Maybe I've seen him in other movies, and maybe he was just a little bit older. I think I have seen him a little bit older in some other films. But the younger version of Griffin Dunne, I'm pretty sure I've only seen in American Werewolf in London, and now this movie. And I love him in American Werewolf in London. Like, he's easily one of the best parts of that movie, and he's fantastic as the lead character in this movie. So it's basically just this guy. He's an ordinary office worker. He's basically like the main character in Office Space. Like, he's working in an office all day. He looks completely bored, strung out. And he goes home and he just decides, he goes down in this little like restaurant cafe place, and he's reading a book, and he notices this girl across the way, and he just decides to follow her into like this bad part of town in Manhattan. And he goes down there, and he, loses his money. He doesn't have a way back. He can't pay for cab fare, and he's kind of stuck in the wrong part of town after some other crap goes down. I don't want to spoil things, guys. It goes down with him and the girl. And it's just like a series of odd and strange interaction after a series of odd and strange interactions. And then the further you go down this rabbit hole, the stranger and odder it gets, and the quirkier the characters that he meets gets. And it's almost like a dream. Like you're watching this movie, you're like, is this real? Or do these people like really exist? What's going on here? And the characters are also fantastic. They're also like fully realized. They're also brilliantly performed. There's so many people in this movie. You had both the parents from Home Alone's in this movie, Catherine O'Hara, and I think his name is John Hurt. Both of them are in this film, playing different characters that he meets along the way. Catherine O'Hara is just way out there in this film. But you got Terry Garr in this film as well. You got Rosanna Arquette's in this movie. A young Linda, I don't even know if I could say her last name, Linda Florentine or something like that. She was in Men in Black and she was in Dogma, which were two of my favorite movies watching growing up when I was a kid. So I recognized her immediately and I was like, oh, she was in movies like before Men in Black, because I thought like Men in Black was one of her first movies. She's in this movie as a very strange, odd character. She's like a sculptor. She's doing like paper mache and stuff. So every character he meets is just like super odd. Dick Miller's in this movie as well, which you know from a lot of Joe Dante movies, you know, Gremlins 2. So just a super quirky, strange, outlandish like cast of characters that he interacts with through this movie, and none of them feel grounded in reality whatsoever. But I think that, you know, Griffin Dunne does a great job of kind of playing that man from the outside, that outsider that is brought into this you know, very odd world, this place where he doesn't belong. And really carries this film well. And there's great direction, great shots in this movie, great cinematography. It looks great. And yeah, just a really cool movie though. Just a really cool like nightlife in New York City. Like it's comedic, but it's also dark as well. Like there's some very dark things that happen in this movie along the way, and then some of them are played for comedy, some of them are not, but you actually get kind of scared for him at a certain point in the film. You're like, what is going to happen? Is he going to make his way back home? That's what you ultimately want him to do, and all he needs is like some money to pay for the cab to get downtown. It's like, it's a problem that you wouldn't have to deal with nowadays, but in 1985, I guess, was a pretty big problem when you were taken all the way to the other side of town, Manhattan. So it's an interesting movie. Like I said, I wouldn't say this is even in my top 10 Martin Scorsese films. He has so many brilliant films, but it just really highlighted for me just how versatile Martin Scorsese is as a filmmaker, and just, he has no limits. Like, he's never had any limits. Like, Martin Scorsese can do whatever the hell Martin Scorsese wants to do, and I think he proves that very well with this movie After Hours. But getting into the 4K transfer here, so this is the first time that I've ever seen this movie. Of course, this is the first time this movie was ever put out on Blu-ray, ever put out on 4K. So I have to imagine, if you have the DVD of this, if you have the VHS of this, and you're watching this on 4K or Blu-ray, it has to look substantially better. This is a native 4K transfer with Dolby Vision HDR, with HDR10. I thought it looked beautiful. I thought it looked really beautiful. Was it like one of the best 4Ks that I've ever seen? Was it Thelma and Louise level quality? No, it was not. I thought it looked very good though. It looked very pristine, very clear. Not a ton of film grain at all. It looked very clean and cleaned up very nicely. The facial detail was definitely there. The HDR was definitely there and kind of highlighting and bringing out some of those more colorful aspects of the movie. It is all set at night, so there's nothing that like truly stands out in the scenery. It really reminded me a lot of Taxi Driver. And I mean, he's driving in a taxi, he's in New York City, so you see a lot of the street lights, and the street lights reflecting off of the skin, off of the windows, and some of the reflections from him in the windows. And all that stuff looked really great. All the colors, like I said, very vibrant. You can tell that HDR is being fully utilized, and it looks really great. The HDR, again, adds a level of depth that you can really tell with that darker, some of those darker scenes in the alleyways and stuff. You can just see everything. You can make everything out, and you can just see the shadows and some of the characters and how they move along throughout the alleyways. And it just really adds to that depth perception of what you're watching. I just love the way that 4K and HDR in particular can make a movie look and just feel like it has actual weight to it. And I think that that's what this HDR and this 4K transfer does best with this particular movie. So it's a really good transfer. It's not the most amazing blow away 4K transfer that I've ever seen, but like this is being upgraded from DVD. So this has got to be the best this has ever looked. I didn't look at the Blu-ray with the 4K scan, but I imagine that looked great as well. Just minus the HDR and that color and depth enhancement. And getting into the audio here, you just had that original mono track, but there's nothing wrong with that. This is not a movie that needs that huge like 5.1, 7.1 Dolby Atmos setup at all. Like it's perfectly fine with that mono track, just maintaining that mono track that it's always had throughout the course of the history of this movie. So nothing wrong with the audio here. I could recognize, make out every sound. Everything sounded great on the sound bar that I'm listening to the movie in. And get into the packaging right here. I absolutely love the artwork on this, and I'll show the spine as well. I already did an unboxing of this movie on the channel. I'll go ahead and show the back right there. You have the synopsis and special features, casting list, and all that good stuff. Inside, you got some disc art right there, and you got a little brochure thing here on the inside, and I finally know what this means. I talked about this when I unboxed it the other day. It's on the bathroom wall when he goes in one of the bathrooms in the diner. And I'll kind of open this up a little bit. Just a cool little brochure thing right there. Really neat add-on to this release. Getting into the special features, there's a brand new special feature here with the director Martin Scorsese and Fran Lebowitz. It's about 20 minutes, and it's just them talking back and forth about the history of this movie, the making of it, the significance to this movie, and Martin Scorsese's career. Really interesting interview. I listened to the entire thing, and I always love it when they can actually get the directors to come back, like especially in this day and age, and talk about their movies. And you could just tell that this movie, especially what Martin Scorsese was going through at this point in his career, you can just tell this movie meant a lot to him. So I really liked listening to that interview right there. You also get an older audio commentary with Scorsese and Griffin Dunne and producer Amy Robinson. You get a documentary about the making of the film featuring Dunne, Robinson, and Schoonmaker and Scorsese. I believe that's an older documentary. New program on the look of the film featuring costume designer Rita Ryak and production designer Jeffrey Townsend. Deleted scenes, trailers, English subtitles, all that stuff, plus an essay by critic Sheila O'Malley. So some good special features here. There's only 2 new ones. I would have liked to have seen, you know, a couple of more special features. It is the Criterion collection. Like this is what they're known for. They're known for restoring these movies and putting them out and giving them some really good features. But you do have that making of that's a little bit older and very interesting as well. So overall, I think this is definitely a solid release from the Criterion collection. I thought the 4K looked incredible. Not one of the best that I've ever seen, but it looked really good. The movies is super fun. Like I said, very quirky, very different. Like it just felt like the whole time I was watching it, it had a different vibe. It didn't feel quite like anything I had ever seen before. So I definitely appreciated it for that. So cool packaging, good features. I do recommend picking this up, especially during the Barnes & Noble 50% off sale. Definitely pick it up now for 25 bucks. So there's my review of After Hours on 4K. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, and follow me on all my social media accounts down below in the description. And we'll see you next time.